Are you feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about how to scale your business sustainably? Do you have big dreams for your business, but you're struggling to turn them into reality? Or maybe you're just tired of sacrificing your health, your well-being, time with your family, and your own self-care all in the pursuit of success. Not only is this not sustainable, but it can lead to increased stress and decreased productivity in the long run. Don't let the chaos of running a business hold you back any longer. Join our 12-month Real Women, Real Business Mastery program and start building the business of your dreams with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to achieve six-figure plus revenue growth, rediscover your passion for your business, and say goodbye to overwork, then let's chat. Book a free business planning session at aboutShaunaLynn.com/plan. Check out the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Real Women, Real Business podcast with myself, your host, Shauna Lynn Simon. And this is where we empower passion-driven female entrepreneurs like yourself to turn your dreams into a thriving and profitable business. And so that's why today we are going to be talking about celebrating the wins, and not just any wins, but we want to celebrate the small wins. We're going to talk about why it's so essential for your motivation, for your growth as an entrepreneur, and for the success of your business in order to share these wins. I think every entrepreneur, and especially female entrepreneurs, are guilty of constantly looking towards achieving this big goal that we forget to take a moment along the way to celebrate what's happening. Every time we land a new job, we're like, okay, well, I need the next one, and the one after that. And we're not even taking the time to enjoy or celebrate that. And this kind of goes back to that whole hustle and grind culture that we've become so familiar with, that we've become so comfortable with. And unfortunately, this is something that can actually be detrimental to us if we're constantly hustling and not really taking the time to actually focus on the things that matter. And that is celebrating those wins. Let's take a little bit of time to enjoy this. So, like I said, for myself, I'm definitely guilty of this. I can recall several years ago, one of my team members, said to me, and it's funny that this resonates with me in such a way, like it stays with me. It's something that I remember my response to this, and I've reflected on it so many times over the years and just thought like, wow, I can't believe that I actually said that. So she said to me one day, she said, do you ever just kind of sit back and take it all in and just like, wow, like I built all of this, this is phenomenal. And I remember looking at her and saying, no, I'm always so focused on what's next and the next thing that I'm working on. I'm not done yet. So I feel like I can't take the time to enjoy it. And this is powerful because even as I said it to her, I remember reflecting and thinking, I feel like this doesn't sound like it's the right answer. And I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but I remember thinking to myself, like, I feel like I should be saying something different, but I was speaking the truth. And if you've ever read the book, The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan, he talks about how we're always chasing an ideal. And the reality is that you will never achieve your ideal. You can never actually reach that ideal that you have created in your mind as something like, things will be better when, I'll be happy when. We create these ideals of things that we're working towards. And yes, we want to have goals. We want to be striving to achieve things, of course, but he described an ideal as being like the horizon. You can see the horizon, right? You can see like this line that looks like a very clear divide between the earth and the sky. And it seems like it's something that's almost tangible. And yet, no matter how far you travel, no matter how close you think you get to it, you can never actually put your hand on that horizon. And I loved this analogy that he used that talks about, this is what your ideals are like. And this is one of the reasons why it's so incredibly important then that we celebrate the small wins. If we are constantly focusing on an ideal that we really can't actually achieve, how on earth are we ever going to feel joy in the moment and be able to feel happy and satisfied with all that we have achieved? So, it's definitely been proven that celebrating these small wins, it's going to help you to boost your mental health and motivation. It's going to help you to track your overall progress towards a bigger goal. But most importantly, this also helps to prevent burnout. And of course, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I am all about all things that help you to prevent burnout. And so this is just one more tool to add to your toolbox. And I think I've talked about this briefly on other episodes, but I really felt like this shouldn't just be a blip on our radar. This needed its own episode. So here we are. We're going to talk about celebrating the small wins. How does this help you? Like I said, it helps you to increase your mental state. How does it do this? Well, by acknowledging some of the smallest victories, it gives us that instant boost of confidence and motivation. It's easy to say, I'm doing all the things wrong. But if you actually start reflecting on the things that you're doing well, it's amazing how that can shift your mindset. And instead of having these limiting beliefs, you now have a greater sense of self and a greater sense of achievement. And you feel much more confident that you can achieve bigger and better things. We talk often about the mental state and how much this can affect us. And you've probably heard people talk about doing their daily affirmations and their gratitude journals. And I'll admit that, on the outside, it can seem as though this is something that's sort of, I don't know quite how to put it, but not necessarily something that's, tangible, and it feels a little bit woo-woo, for lack of a better way of putting it. I don't quite know what the term is that I'm looking for here, but I think you know where I'm going with this. And, it can seem like it's something that, real business owners don't do that kind of thing, like if you're just every day saying your daily affirmations and doing your gratitude journal, but you're not actually taking any action, well, sure, that's not enough to necessarily propel you forward. But it's by doing those things that you can then take action on other things. The other thing with celebrating wins, I mentioned that it helps you to track your progress. Yeah. So this is especially important when you've got a long-term goal. Think about some of the biggest companies that you know. Let's take Google, for example. Google is a major player when it comes to the tech space, and they're constantly developing things. Imagine the teams that are working on some of these projects that are taking years, even decades sometimes, to actually get rolled out and come to fruition. And in fact, some of these projects that they take on get scrapped altogether. They never even actually see the light of day. They scrap the entire department in the end. Well, what if those people that were working on those projects were just focusing on that end goal? If they didn't take the time to celebrate the small wins, to celebrate the milestones along the way, imagine how frustrating it is to constantly feel like you're working on this project that has kind of no end in sight, right? So you want to ensure that you are celebrating these wins so that you can track some progress. You can see that you are making progress on those bigger goals, because otherwise those big goals can feel really, really, really daunting. And of course, if you've listened to previous episodes, you know how often I talk about taking those big goals and breaking them down into small, actionable steps and creating some milestones to be able to measure them as well. This is what we do with SMART goals, right? Is we make them measurable. That measurable part of it helps us to identify when we can say that this goal has been achieved. Now, if it's a really big goal, we want to break down each step of that into smaller milestones and ensure that we're measuring against those as well. And so by doing all of this, you're going to help to prevent burnout by allowing yourself to recognize your effort and not feel so drained and tired and as though you're not actually achieving anything. You need to recognize that progress for your own mental state to allow you to feel like you're not, all your work and all your efforts are not for nothing. So what counts as a small win? This is really up to you, but I do encourage you to pay attention to the size of it. We do want it to be small, plain and simple. We do want it to be small. So recognize your day-to-day achievements. So maybe you've just completed a task that you've been procrastinating on, even if it's a 20-minute task, but you're like, oh, phew, that is finally off my plate. Or maybe you received positive feedback from one of your recent clients. It could be as simple as just, you know what, I got my workout in today. I got up early. I tackled the day. I'm just having a good mental health day. Can we just celebrate that as a win as well? For me, the days that I get to go for my walks in the afternoon, it's something that used to be a non-negotiable for me. And I'll admit that there are some days where I'm finding, oh, wow, that, clock kind of got away from me. And I didn't quite get out for that walk as I had anticipated. And, the days that I do go for the walk, I like to really celebrate that and really recognize it. And you'll often see me posting on social media like, hey, I got my walk in today, because it really is that important to me. So that's another thing when it comes to celebrating your wins. If you can share it with others as well, that helps to boost you too, right? By knowing that you've got other cheerleaders that are supporting you along the way as well. So, if we hit small milestones as we go along, you can celebrate those as well. So let's say like maybe you gain a certain number of followers on social media. Maybe you came up with a new business idea that you're just excited about. Maybe you can't share that business idea yet, but why not post on social media about how excited you are about this new idea? And hey, stay tuned. Let's start creating some buzz about it, right? All of this should be celebrated. But it could be as simple as, you know what, today I feel like I was present for my family. Today I feel like I did a really good job with my work-life integration. That's worth celebrating. Maybe you learned a new program today. Like, you know what, Canva's been intimidating for me. And I finally decided just to sit down and get started on it. And I'm not perfect at it, but you know what, I got started. Can we celebrate just getting started? There are a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially if you have ADHD or other neurodivergence, I know that the initial launch to do something, and I don't mean like a massive product launch, I just mean literally that first step of just starting something can feel overwhelming and daunting at times. So if you manage to at least start something today, let's celebrate that as well. So there's a few different ways that you can celebrate your wins. I've already mentioned, you can certainly post on social media. That's a great way to do it. Get your supporters involved, get your cheering squad cheering for you and celebrating things. But maybe it's just a matter of taking a few moments on a daily basis. Maybe even just set a little alarm for yourself at the end of each day to say, what did I accomplish today? For my team and I, we have what's called a daily stand-up. You may have heard of this before. I didn't invent it, but a daily stand-up is essentially where you share a little bit about your day. We have some parameters around our daily stand-up. What we talk about is what our win for the day was, what our challenge for the day was, and then what our focus is going to be for the next day. We also include in there, what made my day not perfect? And this gives us some things that we can reflect on and say like, oh, let's try to improve some of these things. Now, there are some days, I'll admit, where, it's really hard to find a win. And I love the daily stand-up for forcing me to find a win, because we've all had those days where at the end of the day, you're like, man, that was a terrible day. I can't wait to just go to bed, reset, restart tomorrow. It's a brand new day tomorrow. But can this day just end? And I've even had some of my clients have come on our calls and they will, go through what that day was or the day prior to that. And it honestly sounds like it's straight out of a movie some days. Like, how is it possible that someone had all of these things happening? And the way that we handle it at the end of the day is really going to affect us, not only for that day, but for the next day and all the days going forward as well. We can continue to stew on it and say like, oh, the world was out to get me. The universe was against me. I can't believe all these crazy things happened. Or we can roll with it and find the positives in it, while I was stuck in traffic for a while. But you know what? I ended up getting in an extra couple of chapters on my audiobook. So that's a good thing. Or, I was stuck in traffic because of an accident. I hope that the person who was in that accident is safe. And I'm grateful that myself and my loved ones are safe. There are easy ways to incorporate, some little bit of gratitude with some of those wins as well. Another way you can celebrate your wins is maybe you set some actual milestones where you say, once I've done this, I'm going to reward myself. If you are familiar with James Clear's Atomic Habits and Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit, there's a lot to be said for having a bit of a reward system. In the case of those books, of course, they're talking about building habits and using rewards as a part of that. But the reality is, though, that we need rewards. We need to feel like someone is celebrating something with us, even if it's just ourselves, giving ourselves those rewards. So maybe it's a matter of, if I accomplish this, then I'm going to enjoy a favorite treat, whether it's a cup of tea, a glass of wine, a piece of chocolate, whatever that treat might be. Or maybe it's once I complete this, then I will allow myself to take a day off, take a half a day off and go for a hike or spend some time with my friends or whatever that looks like for you. But set up a reward system for yourself. I mean, do you remember back in school when you used to get those gold stars? Like, let me tell you, that gold star system, we're still chasing it. Think about we ask for Google reviews. We ask people for their testimonials. We're looking for a gold star on our work. But we're only getting those from clients, of course, when we've completed a big project. So in the meantime, we need to celebrate for ourselves. What are some things that we want to reward ourselves for? What are some milestones that need to be celebrated? And then, journaling is another great example of a great way to practice some of this celebration. And I've spoken about journaling previously. It's so therapeutic. It's so great for your mental health. I will say this though, when I talk to people about journaling, I sometimes get some very odd looks from them. And, sort of that, like, you're crazy, there's no way I'm journaling kind of look. And I can see them almost dismissing the idea. And I will tell you, I am not a consistent daily journaler, but I do very much enjoy my journaling, and I do try to practice it as often as I can. But this can look however you want journaling to look. It could be as simple as maybe each day you're just writing down 3 wins for the day, and that's your journaling. For others, it might be more of a conversation, as though you're speaking to a specific person. It could be that it's just a matter of, you just want to get your thoughts out onto paper sometimes when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And so you journal only when you're trying to work through maybe a major problem or a friction that you're having with a colleague or someone in your personal life. I can see all of that being very beneficial for journaling as well. You can also follow journal prompts. This is something that I'll post a link in the show notes for this, but journal prompts are very helpful to help you to ask questions about your day and allow you to reflect without staring at a blank page. So, did I do my best to be present today? Did I do my best to be a good mother? Did I do my best to be a good friend? It doesn't mean that you're going to nail every one of these every day. There are days where, I really pride myself on my commitment to my family. And it's something that is not something that's an obligation to me. It's something that I truly treasure and I truly want to do because I love my family and I love being there to support them and I enjoy the time that I spend with them. And there are some days where I say to myself, you know what, you weren't the greatest daughter today. And, that's okay, because if I can reflect on it, saying, did I do my best to bring my best to that situation? And if not, okay, how will I improve on that going forward? But you don't want to get too hung up on that. Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit on this whole journaling thing, but I will put the link for the journal prompts if you want to get it. It's a free download for you. I'll throw that into the show notes for you as well. So now that we've got these small wins that we're celebrating, here's the really cool thing. Again, I mentioned this at the beginning. They're really powerful because they help you to build your confidence, and this is going to help your business to grow. And so by consistently celebrating these small wins, they can lead to greater risks that you're willing to take, bolder moves in your business, and they can really propel you and help you to build momentum. It helps you to create that winning mindset in your mind, because it doesn't mean that you're not going to reflect on the things that didn't go perfectly, because of course that should always be a part of every business owner's journey, every entrepreneur's journey. We should always be reflecting on the things that maybe didn't go as well as we had hoped and how can we improve on those things. But the more we can remind ourselves that we are winners, that we are successful, even if the success doesn't look exactly how you originally envisioned or how you think society envisions it, we need to celebrate our own successes in a way that feels authentic and true and good for us. And so by, taking these small wins and creating a habit of celebrating these, we're recognizing, we're celebrating, all of this success that we're achieving along the way. This helps to shift your mindset to focus on even more possibilities and opportunities rather than always focusing on the challenges. Again, we definitely want to reflect on things that don't go perfectly and how can we improve them. But we also want to ensure that we're celebrating these wins to really build that winning mindset. And, when we get these small wins, again, they'll help us to tackle bigger challenges and encourage us to get outside of our comfort zone a little bit. And all of that over time will lead to significant growth in our business. Okay, so that is, I believe that I covered all the points that I wanted to about celebrating small wins and, just understanding that how you do this, it's up to you. Choose a method that works best for you. If you want to keep them all private, do so. If you want to share them, absolutely share them. Shout them out. Feel free to tag me at Shauna Lynn Simon when you're sharing your wins on Instagram. I'd love to hear about them. I want to know what it is that you're celebrating today, because every single win, every accomplishment should be celebrated, should be recognized, because you are powerful, you are successful, you are building a thriving business. Even on the days where it doesn't necessarily feel like you're winning, trust me, you are. So take the time to reflect on what that win actually looks like. Okay, so if you are enjoying this podcast, if what I'm saying here today resonates with you, I really hope that you will continue to tune in and allow me to be a part of your journey. Please feel free to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And of course, as I've mentioned previously, if you are enjoying this, the best way to show your support is to share this episode, share this podcast with someone that you know can really benefit from it. Who needs to hear this today? Please share it with them. It would mean the world to us if you could do that for us. Until next time, everyone, keep thriving.